On February 1st, we will all witness the most important media event of 2023, the Union Budget. Nearly a month of rampant media coverage builds up so much expectations on the finance minister's budget speech that someone or the other is disappointed in the end.
पर मेरे मन में सवाल उठता है, ये प्रभु, ये कैसे होगा?
That quote was from a 2015 Railways budget speech. Yes, we used to have a separate railway budget. We'll get to why we don't in a bit. Back to the Union Budget. There are so many expectations on the finance minister that someone will be left disappointed. But the budget also sets the political agenda for the incumbent government, and it's presented in the first parliament session of the year, also known as the budget session. Starts with the president's address to a joint sitting of both houses of parliament. One day before the budget is presented in the Lok Sabha, the government presents the economic survey in parliament. The union budget's impact on our daily lives has come down by a lot. Imagine this. At one point, the finance minister's budget speech contained details of excise duty or service tax changes, including customs duty changes and income tax law changes. Essentially, most household food items and services you consume were at one point impacted by what was announced in the budget. This was till 2017. From 2017, the Railways budget was merged into the General Budget. The Railways budget was used as a way to announce new trains, lower fares, special services, and then some. In July 2017, the Goods and Services Tax was rolled out, which took the place of excise duty, service tax, and VAT. This meant that any indirect tax-related announcements were taken out of the next budget presented in 2018. All decisions related to goods and services tax are taken by the GST Council, which is run by state finance ministers and the union finance minister. You would think that taking out such big parts of the budget would make the speech shorter. Think again. The current finance minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, holds the record of the two longest budget speeches. Her first budget speech was 2 hours and 17 minutes long, which was then the longest budget speech ever. In the next year, just before the pandemic run riot, her budget speech was 2 hours and 47 minutes long, which she cut short and had 2 more pages to go. In 2021 and 22, Sitharaman presented a paperless union budget using a tablet computer. In the recent years, the focus on the budget is more on new income taxes and the government's spending plan. This is also because after merging the railway budget and the indirect tax proposals, except for custom duties, are now out of the main budget. There's only so much that the finance minister can talk about. If the budget was already a political statement by the incumbent government in the past, now it's even more so. The focus on the spending plan from large parts of the business, news media is because that will determine which sector the government will focus its spending on during a financial year. Then comes the income tax changes. For the government to spend, it has to raise revenues. That can either be done by raising taxes like custom duties and income tax, or by asset sales like disinvestment. There are many a fine print that people look for in the income tax changes to assess the longer impact of the proposals. Every year, the expectation is that personal income taxes will either be reduced or exemption and deductions will be increased. But this happens far and few in between based on the government's need to balance the budget. But a year before the general election, it is usually reserved for such populist announcements like tax cuts.